Thank you. Welcome to the Acting Center, and welcome to the Periscope people. Hello, Periscope people. I assume that's what you are, or maybe you're just very shy. You're holding up your laptop. Well, very pleased. Let's get started, shall we? Juliette Lewis has been recognized as one of the most talented and versatile actors of her generation since she first stunned audiences and critics alike with her Oscar-nominated performance in Cape Fear. She's worked with some of the most respected, innovative, and revered directors in film, including Martin Scorsese, Woody Allen, Oliver Stone, Garry Marshall, and Christopher McQuarrie. Whether lending dramatic authenticity or a natural comedic flair to her roles, Lewis graces the screen with remarkable range and an original and captivating style. She was born in L.A. Her father was actor and storytelling genius Jeffrey Lewis. By the age of 6, she knew she wanted to be a performer. At 12, Lewis landed her first leading role in a Showtime miniseries, Home Fires. After appearing in several TV sitcoms, including The Wonder Years, she made her move to film, starring with Chevy Chase in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. It was very memorable. Everybody remember that, eh? Unforgettable. And also with Jennifer Jason Leigh in the drama Crooked Hearts. And at 16, Juliette starred opposite Brad Pitt in a critically acclaimed television movie called Too Young to Die, and that captured the attention of Martin Scorsese, who cast her in Cape Fear, which earned her an Oscar nomination and a Golden Globe nomination for Best Supporting Actress. It's an incredible performance. She followed with a succession of starring roles in a variety of blockbusters and critically acclaimed projects, including California, Romeo Was Bleeding, What's Eating Gilbert Grape, and Natural Born Killers, Oliver Stone's controversial media satire about a couple of mass murderers who become legendary folk heroes, penned by Quentin Tarantino. She worked in series television also on the series The Firm, based on the hit motion picture, and has guest starred on many popular television shows. Beginning in 2004, Juliette took a hiatus from acting to embark on a musical journey. And after 6 years, 2 full-length albums, and countless high-profile tours and festival gigs with her band, The Licks, Juliette set out on a solo career in music. And since then, she's continued to work in high-profile films. She was part of a stellar ensemble in the critically acclaimed August Osage County with Meryl Streep and Julia Roberts. She's currently starring in 2 television series, Wayward Pines and Secrets and Lies, in which she portrays hard-boiled detective Andrea Cornell. Please welcome Juliette Lewis. Well, I just want to have a casual conversation with you. So I thought I'd invite you out.
Good. I like that.
Yeah. So does it make you feel funny to hear all your screen credits like that?
It was funny. I was like thinking of there's such key moments in each job, whether people saw it or not, or know it or remember it. Like The Wonder Years.
Yeah.
I remember exactly how I got that part.
Huh.
The audition, making a key decision that tapped me into the character, and all these things were...
Well, I'd love to hear about that.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'll
write it down later.
Yeah.
As a question.
We'll start with The Wonder Years. So, I was... you're always thinking, how do I make something special? And a lot of times when you do cold readings or auditions, you're sometimes given 10 minutes to prepare. And I was chewing gum, and I was 13. And the role, I played, I forgot his name, Wayne's girlfriend. And so there's not much to do. It's a girlfriend. She has a couple lines. What do I do? I took that gum, and it was like, The whole audition was about this gum. And somehow they liked it, and they thought that was an interesting choice. She was kind of acerbic and, and dry, and then that gum added a little something. But it was decisions like I didn't get taught, hey, make a brave choice. I just sort of wung it.
You didn't do you wung it. Yeah, nice verb. You didn't take the gum workshop that Barbara Streisand gets.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's good. Excellent. Well, and as I read, you decided pretty early on that you wanted to be an actress when you were 6. Is that accurate?
That was the only discrepancy I had in your bio. No, it's not like that methodical, but the kind of little kid I was I lived in my imagination a lot, and I was very musical. So I took piano and dance, gymnastics. I did the little plays I did when I was a kid were always musical. Although we did little Hansel and Gretel and some, but my parents somehow knew to encourage me to go in these little musical workshop things. And my dad was an actor my whole life.
A great actor, yeah. Such an enjoyable actor.
So he's a character actor. He's just. So I always knew it was possible. I always knew the line of work you go into if you have an imagination and you like storytelling and you like people and characters. That's what you do. So when I was that little, I didn't know anything about like a career or a job. You're just one with your creative fire, which for me was it was physical, based in dance, and then also musical and in the sense of rhythms and instruments. I'll explain more maybe what that means to me. But.
Okay. We can wait.
Well, when it's hooked on a job, because otherwise I'll talk
that's fine.
too esoteric.
Yeah, okay. We'll parse it out a little at a time.
Fairyland.
Everybody's got to be able to digest this. So
I'm trying to cap my what I know is a little.
It's so great that you're here and you're very eager and willing to tell people who are starting out and beginners. I just think it's very commendable.
I love it.
So helpful and beautiful at this stage of your career to give back like that. So thank you for that. I just thought of something. My mother's an actress too, and so I used to go to sets early on before I ever knew what the business was like. Do you remember the first set you ever went on? Yeah,
and of course you have that history too. So it's not that it's commonplace, but you don't, because in the other world, this other world that we live in or people live in, they learn about this from magazines and this horribleness of what what the industry is.
Right.
But when you have really nice, I mean, your mother I know as well, those kind of parents, I know my first set, I liken it to the carnival, it's a little like that, but even though I've never been to the carnival. This is my version of working at the carnival. But there was horse-drawn carriages, there were cowboys.
Well, that was a great time of cowboy television. At least when I grew up in the 60s, every other show was a cowboy show. Like today, everything's a procedural forensic drama. Everything was a cowboy.
Yes, so my dad did early on a lot of Clint Eastwood movies, a lot of, he did High Plains Drifter. Yeah. What's this other one? Dillinger. What do you remember what it's called?
Dillinger, I think, maybe.
Oh yeah, just Dillinger. I was thinking of the band Dillinger Escape Plan. And, no, they took it from Dillinger. So the first movie sets were like, the makeup and hair people taking care of my dad's, ramshackly little kids while he goes and works. Mm-hmm. And we just sort of had a lay of the land. The set that they weren't shooting in was our playland. Nice. And guys would be bloodied and this and just hanging out, drinking coffee, and it was the world of make believe. Yeah. And we felt right at home in a weird way.
Did you spend a lot of time on set?
When we visited siblings? My dad, I mean, not too much, because we're kids and go to school and stuff. But so you have this set life, and then the other thing, growing up, both my parents were very nurturing of your fantasy life. Imagine if you walked into the room and said, "I'm a queen and I'm blah 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 and the thing is thin and I own this." Go, "Oh, great, wow." So, you know what I mean? Like as a little kid, you're just like, every day is a new adventure. And me and my sister and I, we would go in the woods. And I remember we'd play this game for hours. And this is the beauty of drama and the machine or the imagination that lives within everybody and kids. but we would put veils on our head, and we'd have our babies, and we'd have the woods, so that was our set. It was just behind our house in the suburbs of Florida. And we'd literally act like the world is destroyed and no one's living. And what will we do with our babies? How will we get food? You know, and we're like, she's like 8 and I'm 10.
Getting yourself all worked up.
And we're suffering and crying. And we just played this game for hours. So to me, all of that was my dramatic cultivation.
A lot of actors have to go to New York and pay for that. Well, what are some of the big misconceptions you think that people get about working in film and in Hollywood and showbiz?
That idea that there's one big break. And I just want to demystify that a little bit, because I had a few breaks that lead to the next, Then you're in the doldrums, then you're in happening, then you're this. And it's so nice to be at a place where I have the wealth of my experience and the gratitude and the joy of doing and creating, and the struggle and the want and all of that. That's the magic. So the old idiom is not the destination, it's a journey. All those things are real. And you can learn it with time, or you can learn it just by being super present at your shitty TV commercial, or at your side part at the sitcom, or whatever. All these things I did, but they all trained me up for the next. And I mean, I will say, so to talk a little bit on the big break, yes, there are big breaks, but, it's weird because my cynicism, when I was little, I was super, like at 19, it's kind of was my strength and my weakness, because you could not tell me, isn't this great? I'd be like, yeah, it's gonna go, I know, I don't trust this. I didn't trust any of it, and that's so Cape Fear came, and so that would have been my break, like put me on the map in a major way, because I got nominated for awards. I didn't know what that meant.
Golden Globe and an Oscar.
Yeah, and I thought.
You know what they are now.
Yes. I just want to tell you, at 42, I'm able to live in my joy and understand happiness and gratitude, but at the time I did not try. I was like, is this a cruel hoax, you know? And it had something to do with it at 19, what do you care about? Your first love. That's what I was invested in. And I was like, oh yeah, and then I do this thing that I really like too. But yeah, that's where my head was at, you know? So the break, what that gave me, it never, because people think, oh, I'll have my break and then it'll be easy. No. After Cape Fear, I was an ingenue that Scorsese plucked off the street, got the performance out of. I'm saying that's not who I was, but this is the perceived thing. Yeah. And then there's later, Woody Allen's like, well, but can you be a college student? An academic? And then later it's Oliver going, well, but you can't kill people. You're just a little innocent thing.
And then after Natural Born Killers, people are assume that you can only kill people.
Yes! So even then I went and did like Todd Phillips comedies. Forever I followed up Natural Born Killers with a Nora Ephron comedy. I love telling the story because your career trajectory, you become known for what hit.
Right.
And I did a Nora Ephron comedy with Steve Martin and Adam Sandler and Madeline Kahn right after Natural Born Killers. Had it hit, had people seen it, I would have been a genius. No, because it was really, I was pregnant through the whole thing, and it was really broad, funny. It was a comedy, but nobody really saw it.
What was it called?
Called Mixed Nuts.
Oh, okay.
It has a beautiful cast.
Yeah, sounds amazing.
But wait, I kind of digressed. Yeah, I guess the because there's a break. I think what you should warm to is the hustle. Like get in love with the struggle, because even I'll think of actors like Tom Cruise or the ones you think now who got it made. Brad Pitt, I knew what he struggled against. as leading man and the looks, and you want to play against everybody. I think it's good to want to show different sides of yourself and not get mad at that they don't know I can do blah blah blah. It's like, no, they don't.
Yeah.
So.
And you've learned all that. You've learned that as you went along. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. You've said that. What are your favorite movies that you've done? I know you've said this a million times, but maybe you've changed today. Maybe it's a new one. Maybe it's Mixed Nuts now. But you've talked about Natural Born Killers and Cape Fear, and also The Other Sister.
Yes.
Maybe we should talk about Cape Fear a little bit, since that came up before. And got such an iconic. We watched it again recently, and it's just such a. I mean, I think you're the best thing in the movie because it's so honest and so naked and so raw. Your performance.
Thanks.
And so Martin Scorsese had seen you in another project, and then did you interview him multiple times, or did he didn't just hire you?
Oh, that was such a fun story. Wait, I had wanted to say something. So my
perfectly okay.
Favorite. Wait, what did I just say? Your big break? Huh? I was hanging on a thought.
Sorry.
So it's okay. So, I wanted to say that all my directors have been my teachers. That's how I look at them, as my teachers, and whether I didn't understand it at the time, I really got something from each one of them, good and bad directors, because of course I've been directed by the best that cinema has to offer. So Cape Fear, that was so incredible. Cape Fear was a number of things, because for Marty, he didn't want the black and white, good family monster bad guy that the 50s version was.
Right.
He wanted to dirty everything up, so he did extensive rewrites with the writer, making the marriage cracked, the daughter not listened to and rebelling, and on the cusp of burgeoning sexuality or what have you. So that was much different than the original. When I got it as just a young actor person, I looked at it, it was like, oh, here's the daughter role. And a lot of, when you're younger, especially early on, now it's sort of a youth culture, and maybe they write more for young people. But at that time, they're really narrow, and the daughter just was written that way. So again, I had to figure out, how do I make this special? How do I not just say my lines? Because the original scene that everybody remembers from the theater, where he approaches her, and how it's written is, he understands her and does this cat and mouse, a little thing, manipulates her, and then he comes and he kisses her and she runs away. That's how it was written. And then later they made it something that it became.
Yeah.
How I prepared for that was, because I was really into making characters. I didn't enter this world to be myself, but I know I'm using myself or versions of what I have to offer there. But the first thing I do when I get a job, or I'm gonna audition, is I get really wide open to my environment, and any clues, messages, and and I loved watching people when I was really younger. I mean, I was kind of a weird kid, like almost a spy. If that's what it's called, I don't know. My first thing in school, I wrote down snippets of somebody's conversation at a grocery store. It was like a torrid affair thing happening, and I was like 10, and then I read it to the class. So I really like to soak up and get in people's worlds. So I was at a park, and this girl, it was at my friend's house, and this girl sat down, and she had a kitten. She had a baby kitten, and she had bangs, because that was my part. I really wanted bangs. She had bangs. And she looked like she had a secret. All the time. I was like, oh my God, that. Just a girl, and I asked her, where'd you get your kitten? My mom got it from me. She just looked like she was holding a secret. I'm like, what is this girl not saying? So, and she's just like 14 or something. But that mannerism, I went, oh, that's the key to Danielle, is a girl who always has a secret. and it was different than me. People assume like I was that young. I was dating a 25-year-old and living on my own. I mean, yes, I was very young in the head, but I wasn't what that girl's life was. But yes, the audition, I did like 4 auditions. Sorry, I digress.
Totally cool. I think it's a fantastic story. I mean, you really could sort of enter that person's universe and sort of look and see what they were like and grok that so fast.
Yeah.
And go, oh, that I could use that. That's really interesting. And that comes, I imagine, from, as you said, you've been an observer, an appreciator of human beings since you were a little girl, and kind of a spy, and kind of, and sort of, I imagine, did you like sort of pretend to be people and sort of absorb them in that way?
Yeah, I would make up characters, but I always liked I just had this deep empathy, kind of for energy, people's energy. So even if they're this way, and I would see the moments in between the moments. You know, you have someone talking. Just a lot of stuff is at school. You're seeing all these different people, and you want to connect. And people, kids or people today, don't always know how to connect. Yeah. So it's the moments in the moments of like the turn away or not doing anything. What's going on in there? You know.
Clues.
Yeah, and I was always like, what I always fancied myself a psychic, kind of. I'm probably a third-rate psychic. I probably I half make stuff up.
I have a feeling that describes a lot of psychics, though.
But smells, I'm really sensitive to smells. I could almost perceive the person's house.
Wow.
What the state of their dishes. Nice. I don't know. Now, again, I could just have a really active imagination.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of little clues that are floating around all the time, aren't there? Yeah, and you talk about the big break, and the big break is kind of like an opportunity, and there are a lot of opportunities in a scene. There's a lot of opportunities in a role, too, so I imagine it makes you open to all those things. Looking at like you just said, the moments in between the moments, that's a gold mine of information about a character and about people that I hadn't thought of. I think that's really fascinating.
Yeah, I think I developed that even more early on because I was never given a lot of words to say. Again, being younger and female, I don't want to get into I will get into those dynamics. But and the types of movies or whatever's current, you don't know what's in the water at that particular time and culture. But text I didn't get a lot of, it wasn't words where I lived,
right.
And so it was always the scene itself and what's going on and how to convey that. Like even in Cape Fear, we had tense dinner scenes where maybe my mom didn't talk to me that day, or I was withholding that I talked on the phone to the creepy guy who's been stalking. We're playing a dinner scene. I maybe say 2 sentences. So you want to convey what the energy there is. And in all the things I've done, I'm a very physical performer. Yeah. And even with the latest thing, Secrets and Lies, I think is one of the most challenging things I've ever done in my life. Because everything about her is so, I've played opposite to myself, but this takes the cake. In behavior, tone.
She's very masculine, it seems.
Well,
in some ways.
She's a homicide detective, right. And there's a uniform within that function, and there is an asexuality, which that's how it should be in all those, like paramedic, military personnel, homicide detectives. So I love that idea, just someone on the job who's really good at their job, and then that kind of job. It's kind of like, to me, like a mathematician's mind. But the behavior is quite specific. It's designed that way, even when you train. Like when they train, when you come into a space and your shoulders about, that whole stance, that's the entire behavior is to assert dominance, control, and authority. Which is totally not the way I ever enter a room. I'm in control here. Like, I'm more like, hey, I would like people to feel comfortable. Yeah.
That's cool. Well, we should talk about preparation for that. I mean, did you train a little bit for this role as the detective? Or? Yeah.
So it's funny. Here's the other exciting thing, people. This is funny because even though those hours upon hours of TV you might have watched, Locked Up Abroad or Forensic Files, where you think you're wasting your life, you never know, because then here comes this role where I'm playing a homicide detective. I'm like, oh my God, you mean those hours of time that I spent watching Forensic Files? This is where it is. And those YouTube rabbit holes, because I would watch hours of interrogation just because I'm fascinated by human behavior.
Yeah.
I was interrogations, the art of it on the other side, the person, there's different ratios. Sorry. I brought this phone to take a picture of you guys later, P.S. Those interrogations are so special because you have a person, there's different scales of who's truly evil, if one really is, and then how they hide. Some are in horrible situations, and there they are in the lowest ebb of their existence in this room, and they're not going to give it up, and the guy's doing all kinds of things to get that information. So I watched all these true crime. For some reason, I'm just fascinated by the endurance of the human spirit and many things like that those themes appeal to me. And then when I got the job for real, I had to, I talked to 7 all different kinds of detectives, but I only did one ride along. So I can't say like, and I had a moral problem with, here I am soaking up stuff for work, because what I witnessed, it took one case, and then I got sick and was like messed up in the head for days because I'm sensitive. Now, whatever.
Must be very hard to watch.
It was, what the case was a 17-year-old pregnant girl who was lying for her gang member boyfriend who had shot somebody. And I rode in the car, we showed up on the neighborhood. I got to see a lot of things like people coming out and then on their phone. Like they did an alert throughout. Within 10 seconds, the cops, even though it's an unmarked car, they get out. There's like, there's all this energy going on in the neighborhood. And then they walk up. They're like, hey, do you want to come in? I'm like, no, I'm not coming in. God. It's like, thank you that I could be on the job with you. I mean, this is another day at the office for them. So I stayed back in the car, and then, so they picked the girl up, we want to bring you down for questioning. We went and they interrogated her, and all I'm watching is a girl my niece's age at the worst point in her life. She's pregnant, lying for her boyfriend who just murdered someone, and lying. She don't know where he is, blah, blah, blah. They couldn't break her at that moment. But anyway, that was enough for me. I was like, oh, God. In the back room, and they're like, he's gonna get her, I'm like, what the? But that one experience taught me you have to have an emotional shut-off for that line of work. You have to. Yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
Amazing, so different. Well, let's go back to Cape Fear, just for the heck of it. Martin Scorsese gave you the great compliment on Cape Fear. He said, I don't know who to cut to. I don't know who to cut to.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what he said, right? There was so much good material there, right?
Did I let that cat out of the bag in an interview once?
You did.
Yeah. There's 2 compliments I've gotten in my life that I put in my pocket for if ever I need them. And one is the scene with me and De Niro doing our scene, and me asking, how's it going, And he goes, I don't know who to cut to. I don't know who to cut to. He was thinking of doing it split screen.
Yeah.
And it didn't dawn on me till later, like, oh, he's saying he would watch me with De Niro or same as, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, I must say about Marty, and why I say that is because it's not like you have someone validating you. He's shooting a movie. He's doing all the things. He's working with several different kinds of actors. Jessica Lange worked totally different than me. I was like all instincts, raw, couldn't verbalize my process at all. But he knew to leave me alone and kind of just set me up. And then he also said another thing. We had done this one scene. We were in the 9th take. It was me walking into a room saying something to Jessica Lange, who played my mom, and I come out where we did it 9 times. And I said, "Marty, is something wrong? Why or am I doing it okay?" And he went, "Oh, I just want to see what you're going to do next." So again, that taught me like, oh, it's good to give choices.
Yeah.
It was my natural inclination to do it that way.
Yeah.
There's other people that do repetition, like Jessica did it a different way coming from the theater, and then Marty would have me say, he was like, give her a wild line. He'd want to break her technique. And that was the brilliance I learned about him too, is that he knew he could acclimate to her and get the best of each actor within their process. And then of course, De Niro, when I talked to Marty one time in the trailer about a scene, he goes, I just came from De Niro's trailer. He's singing the gospel in there with a church lady singing in tongues, and so that was his process. And he just described it. I was like, wow, that must be a happening trailer. That sounds fun. So that's what he was doing to prep being Max Cady.
Yeah.
I wanted to say one thing about Marty is he gave me my artistic wings, and what I mean by that is he validated my instincts when before nobody had. Before that, and it's always a funny story, I had people wanting to hire acting coaches for me.
Wow.
And get me to conform to the kind of sitcom acting at the time in 1989 as a teenager.
Yeah, which would be
Hey,
so valuable
Dad!
if you had
Wait,
it today. It would be so valuable today.
Yeah.
Wow. So you dodged that bullet.
Wow.
Geez,
I don't know. I tried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he validated that and gave you stability and certainty on that, and trusting your own instincts.
Yeah, he validated my own process that I didn't even know at the time. And so I got to get the material, sort of make it my own, and be really present in the scene and make choices and try things. And I think that was really important, because the earlier time I did have people wanting me to do the more energy, and be stiff. Why are you moving? You mean people don't sit this way?
Wow.
Oh, they're just like this?
Oh yeah.
By a
They're
couch?
just that's right.
That's what they wanted to get me to do.
It's so horrible.
Yeah. I was going to
think of
quit
that when
acting at 16
Really?
because of
Because
that.
of that. Wow. That's
Yeah,
so
on this
interesting.
one-
And yet some of that particular thing reminds me of To Kill a Mockingbird, which is one of my favorite movies, where the little kids, anytime you see the little kids, they're crawling on things, they're holding up, they're upside down, they're in a chair, and that was because the director directed that way too. He would kind of apparently let the kids he would say, well, let's just read through this and let them do whatever.
That's great.
And then slowly bring cameras and things in and not disrupt that natural thing. Because it's completely ridiculous to see children saying, hi Mom, I'm home from school now. So that's cool. Now, you have also said that De Niro taught you a lot about professionalism.
Yeah.
Would you speak to that?
It is a blessing to be humiliated. Let me explain. Or, with your tail between your legs going, I was being a jerk. There's 2 moments that are such key turning points for me. Well, first, on the set of Cape Fear, you, as a young actor, or any age, you hear all those urban legends, like, what's one? The Laurence Olivier. And
Dustin Hoffman.
And he drank all night. Why don't you try acting when you did wrong? So early, you hear about De Niro and his method acting and all this stuff. I only knew him to be kind. I didn't know anything about what he did to prepare for a psychopath. I only knew, besides what Marty told me that one day, I only knew when he showed up, he was there, he was ready, and he was respectful to people.
Was he accessible as Robert De Niro, and then when rolling he'd be Max?
Oh no,
Cady?
he wasn't accessible.
No, but he was being Max.
He just was present and prepared. those two things.
Okay.
And I didn't find him off-putting, you know, like that.
Right.
But he's very focused in what he was doing, but respectful. He was very respectful and nice to me and to everybody else. He's just focused. So one time, I had done Natural Born Killers. That movie, so much of it was improvised.
Yeah.
And I mean, I wrote full scenes. That's a whole other experience that was incredible because Oliver Stone wanted he would just, what do you got? If you weren't creating, he was going to get on you.
Yeah.
So you better be eat, sleep, and drinking that role or ideas. Whether he uses them or not, he wanted you to have ideas. And so the movie had come out, and I was like in a different place in my life, and I didn't know it, but I came off so cocky, I didn't know, which is usually a veil for insecurity. And I was at a bar, and De Niro was there. I don't know how to call him Bob, but Bob, he came in and he said, Juliette, you know, because we worked together, and he's like, Juliette, I saw Natural Born Killers. You were good. You did good. And I, not knowing how to take a compliment, went, oh, yeah, well, you know, I wrote like 90% of that. What the fuck? Who is this piece of shit? Who says that? To which he said, no. Don't you ever disrespect the writer. Don't you ever disrespect the writer or the director. No. And I was like, oh. I didn't even know that's what I had done. In my insecurity, not knowing how to take a compliment, wanting to show someone I revered, like I even did blah, but it came out as this, you know, cocky girl. And from that moment on, I never ever was so brash like that. I never talked like that, and I fully understood. It gave me a full perspective shift.
Yeah.
And I was only 20 at the time, so cut the girl some slack.
Absolutely.
And I was insecure in a lot of different arenas, particularly the attention I was being given. I did not
it went from zero to full on.
Yeah, I went from walking into a room where I'm just an invisible person, which I quite enjoyed, to the molecules changing, and you're like, oh my God, what's happening?
Yeah.
But he taught me that, and then there was a tribute for Bob, and I got to tell that story, which was really nice.
That's so brave of you, too. Very commendable to tell that story.
Yeah, well,
I don't tell any of my asshole stories.
But I love the way he did it, and it was in a split second, and he knew what he was seeing.
Yeah.
He was seeing that learning curve.
No. Don't do that.
That's exactly what he did, it sounded like.
You made me feel good one time, because I don't know why, but we were on the phone one time, and a long time ago, and I did my Robert De Niro impression for you, and you said, oh my God, that's what he sounds like. And I was like, oh, that's great. Can we talk about August Osage County a little bit?
Yeah.
Which was terrific. Your performance was so magnificent. You had a 3-page monologue in that show? Is it true?
Wait, was that?
I think so.
2 pages? Well, the 3-page monologue
multi-page.
I did, it was a Sam Shepard play I did in London in the West End called Fool for Love.
Yeah, Fool for Love, sure.
No. Oh my God, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting. August Osage County, we were in the car with me and Julia Roberts. Yeah, and I just talk incessantly.
Yeah.
I'm a person who talks incessantly. And that was wild. And you know what was crazy about it? Because you could have got lost in the memorization, like, oh my God, how am I going to memorize this? How am I going to make it sound like nothing? How am I going to make it sound like thinking and switching from this to that? But also showboating and all the different things that she's doing in that scene, but also know your dialogue. And the brilliance of Tracy Letts' writing, it came easier than not. And that's such a testament to great writing. Because there's a naturalism and a humanity within it, and it follows some odd logic, even if it's all over the place. But for me, I just have to honor Tracy Letts because it's rare in this day and age that you're given that kind of text. That it's like when I read that script, it was like a diamond. I feel like he's our generation's Tennessee Williams. So I auditioned. A lot of people were coveting that role, and I got it, and it was really thrilling to get it. And that part was it was everything to me. I don't know if you all saw it.
Everything.
Thanks.
It might be interesting. I mean, I think it's interesting to find out what sort of things that you still have to audition for. I imagine you get a lot of offered things, and then you have things that are maybe things that you have to audition for. So you've not given up auditioning entirely. You still, that's a whole different animal, isn't it? The audition is sort of a whole other thing.
It's not something I pretend to be gifted at. I don't love auditioning. But again, when it's that good, it makes it easier.
Yeah.
Because it's just everything. But yeah, I don't audition often.
Yeah.
At all. But that, yeah. So
what about,
I'm also at a, like, not to be overly prideful, it's like, do the math.
yeah.
Do the fucking math.
DTFM, that's what they say.
But for that, of course,
Yeah.
you know, it's
Yeah.
like, well, he's auditioning who he's auditioning, and so we did it. It's good.
On the monologue and on other things that are demanding on a role that do you ever work with somebody? Do you work just all by yourself to prepare? Or do you ever have like a coach or someone you drill with or a buddy or something like that?
I definitely drill with somebody. And I did a couple auditions that were helpful. Like it was one of those big special effects movies, but it was a witch, you know, so I did The Witch, and my friend helped me, and we filmed it, and I found that kind of liberating because I could control the outcome. I could look at it. I did my own makeup, and I could even do cue cards. No, but just because sometimes in those rooms you're nervous, and so you know you have to have all the wheels spinning. But so I done things that way, and then but I find with words and stuff, never get married to that. The essence is always more important than technical perfection or, getting the words exactly right, but you should aim that way.
The intention.
Yeah, the intention and the core of the
character.
person. That's the challenge for me in auditions is finding the core of a character when I don't have my director to know what he wants. You know, you just sort of got to free fall it and create something.
Gosh, there's so much to talk to you about. You're doing some TV shows right now. Are you actively filming these shows?
Okay, so Wayward Pines, I was just in 3 episodes.
Oh, okay.
But they promoted it, you know, because they didn't want people to guess what happened on it. And then I got Wayward Pines first. That stars Matt Dillon, Melissa Leo, some really incredible actors. And then Secrets and Lies came later that I've already filmed. The first season, and then it got picked up, and so I was part of that whole game of where you wait to hear, and that was all very exciting. And so we'll do a second season and start filming in August.
Cool. And then you're also going to start up with your music again, is that right?
Yeah, so it's funny because I aimed to come to this place in my life, but I didn't know if I would make it. Because I had, and what I mean is doing all your creative loves. Because early on when I was just cultivating my music and finding my audience and really nurturing that relationship and growing as a songwriter, I knew I had to I had to give myself that real experience, and it took some years. So I couldn't do the other. So I had to give to music just as I gave to film. And then I came back to this world, and so now I'm going to try that thing where you do it all.
Splurging.
Yeah, I'll even direct, and I never wanted to direct.
I wanted to ask you about that, if you had any interest.
No, it'll be out of necessity. I'm writing something with Eric Matheny, this guy. No?
So he's one of the founders of the Acting Center.
There.
Oh my God, this is a small world.
that union, finding him, because I had all this idea the last 5 years. It's sort of been writing itself, and of course, I tell everybody to come to the Acting Center, by the way, because people ask me. You guys made a good choice, but I say it's the only place to go to in Los Angeles to really learn the work, get inspired, learn tools that are useful, that make you grow and expand, and not the other thing where you're just stewing like that. That's an unnecessary quality. We get enough of that in our living.
Yeah.
You don't need it in your acting
Here.
world.
Yeah, well said. Thank you for that. Yeah, and you've got a documentary going now.
But wait, did I say that? It's succinctly, we're writing a movie together now. We're 10 pages away from being done.
Wow.
Yeah. And I love saying it. You know, people don't tell you, no, I'm saying it, so I have to do it.
Oh, yeah.
So if I'm telling you we're going to co-direct this film and we're going to get it set up this year and then direct it next year, then it has to be done.
Yeah.
Just because I have an ego. Yeah. No, but and then musically, I put the licks back together for this show, and then I have an album, and I'll put that out. I'm gonna figure out how to make that go.
I think that's fantastic. I think
Thanks.
that's great.
Thank you.
Yeah. We're talking about professionalism before.
Yeah.
On this point, what does that mean to you today, as opposed to, what's your viewpoint on it today?
Well, I left out the other story that Oliver Stone is responsible for. My other turning point in my young life was I was 19 on Natural Born Killers. Isn't that crazy? So I was 19, and we were in the desert, and there was these sand dunes, and me and Woody were about to go, blah, 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 blah. And then I was gonna go, you fucking bitch, blah, blah, blah. Which I was really into repetition then. I just was into repeating. I made that up, where I just repeat back to him what he said to me over and over. But so we just had shot that scene, and then I'm like, Woody and Oliver are like, you want to do another take? Woody's all jazzed, because we're making art together and stuff. And then I'm like, I don't know why, it just sucks. I just suck. I can't do it good. And and I was like that, beating myself up. And in my head, thinking everything I did was garbage. And Oliver went, come here. And he was kind of mad. And he just took me over here away from Woody, who was inspired and excited. And he goes, I don't give a shit what you think, that you think you suck. No one here cares that you think you suck. Oh my God, like, how many genius? Yeah. And I went, oh. I didn't get until that minute that I was like poison. I thought that whole thing, and I've seen a lot of actors do it, thinking it's okay to be hypercritical, that somehow you're making your performance better, or if you kill it, then other people can think it's good. I've done it early on in auditions. Talk about professionalism. I've had to audition musicians, and this one guy came in. He was a beautiful drummer. He was amazing once he played, but he came and he sat down. He was like, I didn't bring my right snare, and I don't know, I guess I can work with this kit, but how long are you guys gonna be here? Just complain. And I'm like, wow, this guy, I can't go on the road with this guy. No. When he played, he was incredible, and I made a decision. I told him, like, your attitude is what made you not get the job. You are incredible. And so that moment, I had no idea that if that's going on in your head, fine, keep it to yourself. Power through it, commit, but don't poison the water, or whatever the metaphor is. don't piss in the stream. Did I make that up?
Yeah.
Do you have one?
Don't poison the housekeeper.
Okay.
Because they could do it right back to you. I don't know.
But I love that moment. Again,
Yeah.
I'm so glad he like switched the gears for me.
Yeah, Natural Born Killers. Now, you've talked about that a lot. What a wild ride that is. What a fever dream it is. When you finally saw Natural Born Killers after this very creative period where you must have felt like you were out on the road with a new musical or something, then you finally see it. You have no control over the editing. Obviously, editing is a huge part of that movie, and it's just a pastiche of different things. It's just a blah. Sound, music, all these crazy, ironic music choices through the whole thing, and then visual things popping up, and suddenly it's anime, and I mean, what did you think of that? What was your response? Was it the movie you expected?
Oh no, I knew enough to not expect. I just knew I'm working with Oliver Stone, and he makes really interesting films. So that much I knew, and especially the more layered the material or heady or controversial, that's his gamut, or that's his realm. So but that movie could have been, you could have edited 10 different movies. It's funny, that movie and what it cultivated in me took a little while to understand, and I feel that movie was ahead of its time.
Oh, way ahead, yeah.
And truly is kind of like an intellectual film, like you could intellectualize it, and it's correct in what Oliver, the layers that he was doing to you as the audience. He would go, "Yeah, Mickey Mouse," and you're like, "What? Wait, huh?"
Oh yeah.
Oh no, they are horrible.
Yeah.
But he was doing, and then the media is shining the light. He was just doing a really complicated thing to shine a light on creating heroes out of these criminals, and also they're exaggerated. So it was such a wild film. I could talk. I don't know if people want to ask questions about it, but I have lots of stories within that movie that was really exciting, because I'd never worked on, first of all, it's kind of a surreal psychedelic film where anything goes, in that sometimes it's real, sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
There's like, we'd be in a car, on a lot or on a stage, and the guys are doing that, and then there's gonna be demons running by, you guys are on mushrooms, and then a screen with horses, and then frickin' Leonard Bernstein singing. No.
Leonard Cohen.
Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Leonard Cohen, the music behind us. So it was sort of like an anything goes, and you had to rise to the occasion. You couldn't go, what does this mean?
What's this gonna look like?
Yeah. Am I gonna look dumb? Like, fuck you.
I need to be photographed from this side.
But that's where I got into like this stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was just making that stuff up.
It's not in the script. She wraps her legs around the driver.
Yeah,
it's not in the
I
script.
think Woody was he just thought I was a freaking nutcase, and he was the perfect partner to do. I could do anything.
He seems just solid. He's solid.
Yeah.
In that film.
Yeah.
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 That's awesome.
Yeah, that is kind of funny. Why would I put my legs around his neck?
Yeah, it's fascinating.
I thought that was their union, though.
Yeah.
To me, that expressed the liberation in their union. I could strangle him with my calves.
Yeah. Every man needs to know that about his mate. I want to ask you this again, and maybe people will ask about this, but it's from your viewpoint now. Are there things that you've noticed beginning actors kind of obsessing with and getting very distracted by that you later discovered, or that you've discovered are really not that important? That's a kind of a leading question, I guess. But things that they put their attention on something is like, although this I've got to.
Yeah, I think the reverse of my story of like I suck and blah blah. Maybe someone doesn't talk like that or is that negative, but it's the reverse of that is this striving for greatness. I mean, just be and do the work and experience the pleasure in discovery, in working with your partner, getting into the space. I think that sometimes you have an idea, and I'm saying a lot because you have to be aiming for something, but you also, when you're on sets and you're working with other people, you're not working by yourself. It's not a one-man show. Right. So you have to be willing to lose that idea or change the idea or build on it, do a little less, respond to your other partner and what they're doing. So my whole thing is like, you learn about your part and how they inspire you. Like August Osage County, that girl, I understand that kind of desperation, insecurity, holding on to an illusion so much, and just the denial. And so I loved that. But you have to be willing to move within your initial creative idea, because ultimately you are working for your director and writer. Right. So to answer your question, I've worked with actors that fight with the producers or fight for their way, and there's something to be said for diplomacy, but there's also something to be said for trying interesting things. And if you want to be super daring, and you know you have a person who's like, just don't talk, just do it. Just leave them out of the equation. Just do it anyway. No. Yeah. So I'm saying many things. You have to read each situation as it is, because sometimes you'll work with a Oliver who wants you. Every idea is a good idea, right, sorta, for him. And then I've worked with a writer who wrote the whole thing, and he's directing for the first time, and nothing I did was good enough, because he had it. He was so married to however he wrote it, and it was really disheartening for me. And this was after Cape Fear. It was a little movie called That Night, and I couldn't do it right in his eyes. That was an interesting learning experience, because right after working with Scorsese, who validated my instincts and who said, I never know what you're going to do next, I worked with a writer-director who ganged up with the other actors and said, she keeps doing it different. I don't know what I'm going to do, and I was like, what? Wow. Oh, I thought I'm supposed to keep it new. I didn't know how to do it. Now I know, within a playing field. Yeah,
not all directors are the same, and not all actors and co-stars that you work with are the same. Have you ever worked with people who are so in that character that they don't even talk to you as themselves anymore, and just leave that behind? What's that like?
And here's the thing. I love people, and I love the wackadoo ways that people come up with anything, and I come off as a kook to some people, although I feel like I'm the diplomatic, reasonable one on the set. But because I liken my work to like channeling. But I've worked with an actor who's a friend of mine. Should I name it? I don't think he would care. Giovanni Ribisi.
Let's just say it. Get it out in the open.
So we played mentally challenged people falling in love.
The other sister.
And the way we work is very different. And because I couldn't do what he does, it would take away from my process or my energy. And he couldn't do it the way I do, which is I have to commit and be in the character. I study. We met with different people. The producer's sister was who my character was based on.
Oh, wow.
So I looked at the way she talked.
Yeah.
What inspired me was my niece at the time, who was very little, and her motor skills, because basically a high-functioning, mentally challenged person is just slow, different reasoning, much like a child.
Yeah.
And Vonnie stayed in character 24/7.
Yeah.
Even over Christmas break. Much to the disdain of his wife at the time. Are we on Periscope? Shut up!
What?
He wouldn't care. Okay, so he was in character all the time. We had lunch together. So he's in lunch like, and I'm in my robe, and he's as Daniel, and we're having lunch. But I actually admired that. I wish I could do that, but for me, it would have drained me. I have to separate. I have to go in and out, kind of like a boxer. You go to your ring for a little bit and come back in.
And Julianne Moore, I think, does the same thing. She just pops in and out of it. And Giovanni, though, stayed immersed in that whole thing.
Yeah, stay in character. So my big thing is work with all kinds and know when you're on the job, get into your work. Don't worry, because we are dealing with human beings and human relationships and there's so much stuff on a set that they're not going to teach you about, or people that are, in different departments, people struggling at different places in their life, whatever, but we all come together to create illusions. And there's something fantastic about that. So I try to definitely conserve my own energy. I'm really, I feel like I'm pretty easygoing with people, and I respect, I don't come from a hierarchy place, like an actor is more important than the lighting technician or anything like that. I learned that from my dad. I'm just sort of treat everybody equal, but at the same time, when I come to work, I'm not really there to hang out. I'm not like, yeah, blah, blah, oh, you need me? Oh, I mean, you do it a little bit, but I'm always like wound, but that's the way I work. And then depending on the scene, you know, I don't ever get too loose when I'm at work. I'm there to...
We're talking about this little backstage. You manage your energy. You have a lot of attention on managing your physical energy because it's a very demanding job if you're a lead in a film.
Oh yeah, this is just for me, because other people can go like 5 hours without eating. I can't. Yeah. So people make fun of me. I mean, these are just two. What's happening?
Just a few.
She put
many
these
beverages.
Here. So this was protein in case I got low blood sugar during our thing. But I'm just always fueling the machine, because it took me a long time to realize this work, you burn a lot of energy, even though you're not necessarily heavy lifting or something. And then forget about it when you're doing scenes like at 3 a.m. I've had to play like I just discovered someone murdered, and you're like you're working your system like all those things occurred, the adrenal glands and all this stuff. So I'm really big into vitamins and fueling. Yeah,
because there's a lot of things you can't control in a schedule too, where they go, well, we were going to shoot this close-up 5 hours ago, and now we're going to do it now as 2 a.m. You have to be ready for that. Right?
Yeah, I think I'm into being self-sustaining too, and even though you go to a set and you're dependent on craft services, I always just bring my own sustenance.
Yeah, because you
my
can't
way.
live on Tootsie Rolls and
No!
pretzels like that. Good.
What are some other professional things? I don't know. If you ask questions, sometimes that might...
I have some. Oh. Yeah. Okay. Are there types of roles you're interested in playing now that wouldn't have interested you starting out? New kind of things, new directions?
Well, even the other sister, I felt I couldn't have played that at 19. I had played, it was 98. I had taken 2 years off.
I didn't realize that. That's interesting. And what did you do during those 2 years?
I worked on myself, my life, my priorities. I just regenerated. I was on a ride that I didn't fully know. At first I was guiding it, and then it was not under my volition, or not my volition, but it wasn't under my guide, and I was like, what am I doing? What am I in this for? What am I doing? And I think it's an important question to ask. I was like 22. So 22 to 24. And that's the other thing I would recommend to people is living. Travel. Travel is big. Learn other skills. Be open to people and other people's experiences, and don't get too much, tunnel vision on the grind is really important. So I had come back to the other sister, which was something I didn't know I was able to do until I did it.
And beautifully, I think it's my favorite role of yours. I just think it's so tender, and it's a movie that, maybe not a billion people saw it at the time. I know they have on now on cable and so forth, but it's a tender, hilariously funny movie, and it's one that Garry Marshall always mentions as one of his favorite movies.
Yeah, we had a really special time. I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah. We had a really special time doing it. There was so much goodness. In the roles, and in her, her intention and her goodness was so pure and abundant that it was something I had to learn to own within myself before I could do it in a part. So that's why I say I couldn't have played it. I could play Natural Born Killers in 19. I couldn't have done the other sister. And then recently, I actually didn't know it until I was presented with the opportunity, was a homicide detective. I've always revered and admired people that are in lines of work that I would be an emotional basket case in, and how they have to conduct themselves and get the job done. And I mean, I talked to this one guy who worked, he's a profiler for the FBI, so they could read a crime scene by a body and go, oh, this was done, this was a passion, or what did the guy say? This was crime of passion. The guy lived 2 blocks from here. He probably had a fight with his mother. He just lost his job. He was an alcoholic. Like they'll literally, and he was right. This guy, yeah, they can read. So,
can you tell who's an alcoholic here?
But those profiles, that fascinates me, because I like to, again, think I'm very perceptive about this in people and situations, but this is a whole other thing where you have to confront, to me, what's the unconfrontable, which is the worst thing that could ever happen to somebody, and then solve it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it is a good time to open it up to questions from the audience. Anybody have a question? Now, there's a gentleman right here in the front.
Was shooting Dusk Till Dawn as fun as it seemed to look when we watched it on TV?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because it depends on the person, but because early on, I kind of like being covered in dust and working 15 hours and it's 120 degrees and you're with good people and you're all just doing it. That is fun. It's hard. There were hard days within that. And, you know, I am grateful. I haven't worked on a lot of luxurious, we didn't have our trailers. There was a dust storm. Me and George were running, I remember. But it was a lot of fun because of Robert Rodriguez and Quentin being very good friends, and the way Robert films movies. I don't know how he does it now, but then he didn't have a dolly truck. He had an office chair with wheels, and he would hold the camera himself. You know, that's not normal with directors, but he was kind of the everyman because that's the way he was used to filming. And it was really exciting. It was a huge opportunity at the time for George Clooney, an actor who's just coming from TV, who's gone on to win Oscars now. But at the time, it was a big opportunity for him, and it was a big opportunity for Robert. And then me and Quentin were the vets for a second, and Harvey Keitel, of course. So the whole relationship, we were just a bunch of crazies in the desert.
There's a hand up there in the back, in the second of the back row.
You should say your name before a question.
Okay. What's up? I'm Kelly. Nice to meet you. So I was wondering, on this crazy, awesome adventure that you've been on, what is the one moment that sticks out where you were actually pretty proud of yourself? Hey, I'm kick butt.
What if I cry? Is that weird?
Yeah, you should. You should. A little crying is good.
I don't know. I didn't mean to break that. I think whenever it's doing something, in the very beginning, I'm I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know how I'm going to do it. And you just show up, and you work with the people you know. You use the tools you've been given and you know from before, and you commit. I was talking to Eric about that. When all else fails, you show up and you commit. And all the other noise and traffic, whatever's going on in your personal life or whatever else, doesn't matter. So the proudest moment, work-wise, you're talking about results. I think for me, it's the experience of going, I don't know how I'm going to get through it, and then you got through it. There's something, it's so rewarding. There's probably the proudest moments for me are on tour, in that there was one time from where we were flying, we went from Brazil to Germany to Finland, and I hadn't slept in a day and a half because of all the travel. I mean, I must say I left my passport at home before, so I had to do this big, long thing. Anyway, long story short, then I had a fever, and you're literally going, I haven't slept, and that's when you go, oh, you know what you're going to do? Because for me, I could not cancel a show because the expectations when I went into music is like, oh, she's a pampered actress. What are you trying to do music? So the expectations were that I would cancel or do stuff. So for me, I set the bar so high, like I cannot cancel a show. So I just lay there, I had 30 minutes. And I'm like, you're going to regenerate. Right now I'm going to regenerate. It's all just energy. And I've done that when I couldn't sleep, and I had like a monologue the next day, and going to be on my feet all day long, and because I get nerves like a lot of people. And so that show, though, if you allow yourself the miracle of just showing up and believing that it could be better, there's surprises that happen. It was one of the best shows. The audience gave so much energy that I was like, it was all, I was sailing. It was so beautiful.
Hi, my name's Sandra.
Hi.
How do you take or handle criticism that you may get
Good
on the
question.
job?
Yeah. Are you an actor person or a writer or?
Actor person.
Yeah. So you must go and you do your thing, and then someone says, oh, she's not really sexy. Yeah, she's not alluring enough, or she's too mousy, or she whatever, all those adjectives, because they're looking for a role, but they don't know that they've just like shot bullets in your psyche or whatever. So, because I got all of that and still get it. Well, now they don't need to say silly stuff. They just say, oh, they're looking for somebody else. But how do I handle criticism? Oh, it's a short, silly thing to say. You don't personalize it. Always go, oh, my fit is not with them. And half the time, unless you are really bad, it doesn't necessarily have to do with talent. A lot of these jobs, I've lost jobs to people you'd be like, really? It's not a talent, it's... I won't name names! But if I made that question my talent, no, it was just, sometimes a guy's hiring, no, I want her to remind me of my ex-girlfriend, or they're hiring for all kinds of reasons, not necessarily just who's best for the part. And then you learn to go, oh, we weren't meant to be. It's silly like that, but it's real, and you'll find your people who you're supposed to work with.
And after you've done a role and the critics do whatever they do, you don't deal with any of that, right? I mean, or how does that influence
I'd say a big thing, I know it's hard because when you're early on, you want to know what everybody said to you.
Yeah.
Who gives my barometer is the people, man.
Yeah.
No, it's like the people on the street, in airports, and they'll say all kinds of stuff to me. You know? And it's not all the same either. So I'm like, oh, that's your experience, but it is nice when I did aim to do something and it's kind of unanimous, it hit people a certain way. But critics, I don't go looking for it. I've done it a couple times, but it's all personal. It's the same with music. I could tell you more in music. Oh yeah, this is good, because acting, I don't read anything about it. For me, it's just the job, who I was working with, were they happy, were my bosses happy, how did the audience find it? That's what matters. But in music, people, it's personal, and I used to say this thing because my brother hates the Beatles. You cannot talk to him. He likes subversive punk rock, and he could get into some Beatles, but he might just argue for the sake of it. But you're just like, but it's the Beatles, you know. And so you go, does that mean the Beatles aren't good? No, it means it's personal. But I had this after a show. It was so funny. A girl came up to me in the parking lot because we're at our bus, and I'm just looking up at the stars, you know, winding down. And she comes out, hey, I just saw your show. Oh, hi. And she introduces, nice to see you. Yeah, we're just going to take off soon. And she goes, I just got to tell you, I mean, you don't get me wrong. I mean, you're on stage, it was good. But your songs, I don't think they're like the best of what you could do, or whatever her critic, like, yeah, I don't get, like, the guitar is I've heard it before, or it's really derivative, or she starts giving me her critique, and I went, you don't like it. That's cool. You don't like the music, but thanks. I'll see you later.
Yeah. No. Don't disrespect the writer.
But could you imagine like arguing, like, what? You didn't think? Did you like the part? And I was just like, oh, you'd never like it. But I'm glad you were at the show.
Well, we have obviously just scratched the surface on your wealth of experience and all the good advice you have and all the great stories. It's just, like we did, well, there's so much more, I'm sure, but we definitely gave people a lot of things to think about. I want to thank you and commend you for your generosity in sharing all this so openly and so honestly with everybody, with all of us today. I think there's a lot of things to get out of this.
Thank you so much, and I want to tell you I'm here because I love this school, and I love the people that started this school, and you're so lucky to have it.
So thank you, Juliette Lewis.